Hello, fellow armchair Imagineers. It's your podcast compatriot, Jacob Weil. Jacob Weil here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And with Tiki out an important assignment, collectively, we are still the Big Podcast 3. We're back to talk about Big Hero 6, episode 13. And to ask ourselves if we love this episode more than Wasabi loves Cordoroy.
Yeah, so that's right, folks. We're back talking about Kentucky Kaiju. This one's definitely been bolstered for a long time now. This one's like this ever since we've had the episode titles revealed to us. This one's been like Aunt Cass has watched Kentucky Kaiju, which it's been built up, so it's been a long time coming.
Oh yeah, definitely a unique title for sure. I mean, I wonder if this is like, since you rendered it on a movie, if this is like a sequel or something.
I think it works like Godzilla. I think it's like either it's like you rebrand it, like you reboot it, or it's like just like another in the long line of them. Be my guess. All right, so I guess off the bat, of course, we have a few running trends when we kind of discuss Big Hero 6, the series, because the show kind of has its really amazing episodes, and it has its episodes that are to say the least divisive among us, particularly. Usually, we have varying opinions. Let me start us off here. My opinion on this. So I feel this episode, Kaiju, I think the premise is a little confused. In premise, I think we're a little confused on this one, but the execution is remarkably solid. I love how this episode is executed. Yeah, I just feel that there's like a few semantical things I feel like when you lay out the plot, it's like, I don't know if that really. I mean, it does. Again, it's told in a way that makes sense, but just the root of the of the issue of the plot is like there's some cracks in like the foundation there. So, Jacob, tell me, what do you what's your opinion on this one?
Honestly, I thought this was a pretty decent episode. Not like, I wouldn't say like we just have the heights of killer rap or food fight, but I still found this a pretty decent, enjoyable episode.
Right. All right. So yeah, interesting. Another thing to highlight real quick. Another thing we kind of keeping tabs on is I've been kind of tracking how we our showrunners, McCorkle and Schooley. We've kind of seen running trends specifically from shows like Kim Possible or Buzz Lightyear Star Command they have worked on. You kind of see what Big Hero 6 has done so far. A lot of the time, they kind of take a familiar premise that they've either explored, just kind of basically something that, of course, is in the world of superhero and something that's in the world of television, which they've done before. And each time there's been some sort of twist on it. So here, this one was they got a big flashback to Kim Possible in this episode. This one,
50-foot
basically.
Rufus?
I'm sorry?
Is it the one with the 50-foot Rufus?
No. Well, wait a minute. 50-foot. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I know you're talking about ice. I didn't think about that, but there's not really a battle, so I don't think so. But I know exactly. Yeah, you're talking about Commodore Puddles versus Giant. Oh, that was hilarious. No. I was thinking of this one. It's a really good episode. It's in like I completely forgot. I looked back into this. I completely forgot that Kim Possible had a really long. They had really big seasons back in the days. But when television before was condensed down like 13 episodes to basically like your fingers crossed they're going to go another season. Kim Possible was like, I kept forgetting that the first season went so long because all the episodes I was thinking that were in like a second season were in the first season. Anyway, my point is, there's this really good episode of Kim Possible called Ron the Man. It's basically Ron. I'm trying to think I don't know if it was his bar mitzvah. No, it couldn't have been his bar mitzvah.
Yeah. It's the one like, it's the one that involves a bar mitzvah when he takes this and he has this like strength enhancing thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if it necessarily was a bar. Basically, I know what it was though. His bar mitzvah certificate wasn't signed by the rabbi. Therefore, people kind of poked holes and like, well, no, technically you're not a man because you never signed the thing. So yes, and there's this super strength thing made by Henchko and Ron Style. Basically, it's kind of like what makes you a man story, where he has super strength, thinking that's like of course every man needs super strength. That's what makes a man a man. It's buff and toughness. Or in reality, it was something more. And of course, you kind of see some inklings of that story here with what Hiro Hamada goes through this episode. So very interesting there. And of course, basically, we see with super strength we get some practicalities, but we also have some some drawbacks. And the main difference from the Ron Stoppable story is that that this one is not about ego. It's like Hero doesn't necessarily do this out of ego, but he basically as the reason why he doesn't take off the ring and lose his super strength in the case of Ron Stoppable.
Because he had a genuine concern for his friends.
Exactly. I mean, you hear Hero in this case, his suit is stuck on him. Versus it's kind of I like that we kind of took the choice out of his hand there, where it's like okay, so it's not completely like super strength makes me makes me a real hero. It's not really that. It's like super strength has been really practical, but I've rushed into something and I am now stuck with this, and this is not good.
I was almost expecting, when the way it was sticking, I was almost expecting it to go like a symbiote route, like it would gain sentience or something.
I didn't really think it was going to go that route, but I don't know, you never know down the line they might.
Okay, maybe not that far, but it did kind of remind me of the symbiote almost.
Well, and the fact that it wouldn't come off, I can kind of see that.
Okay, I didn't actually think that. I mean, that's more of a hindsight kind of thing. But I was like, the way it's sticking to him and the way it was causing problems is kind of, and I was expecting maybe not sentience, but like lead to aggression and possibly like be like the symbiote story.
Sure. Let's take a break let's take a mini pause here on the super strength story. Of course, that's a huge element of this episode. We'll put a pin in that right now. Let's talk about the Obaki of it all. Because of course, Obaki got very interesting this episode.
Yeah, it's like he wasn't exactly trying to like do anything major except create doubt. That was the unique thing. I mean, spoiler alert, obviously, but
of course, people know they're going into this one. I think they're going to know it's a spoiler. We're covering the episode.
Yeah, I know.
But, I know you know. I'm just saying for the folks at home. Like, there's smart folks at home. Like that Demona B in the comments section now. She's very she's very clever. I'm sure she either doesn't care about spoilers or she knows what she's getting into. Like, oh yeah, Big Hero 6. I remember that. Yes, that's going to be good. And to anyone else watching as well. But yes, Obaki, he continues to impress me. And again, I gotta tell you, I think we have enough under his belt that I'm definitely getting like a Moriarty or Ra's al Ghul kind of vibe from this character. So far, he's living up to the hype for me so far. I mean, his plans have worked out very well so far. His whole plot line was about planting doubt to cause, essentially to gauge Hero. He was trying to kind of gauge Hero and see if he's if he's as smart as he hopes that he will be or that he thinks he is. And of course, this leads to Hero then learning that okay, Hero passed. He's starting to put things together. This kid's as smart as I think he is, beyond just kind of the technical expertise. The kid's kind of
His planning kind of reminds me of Xanatos in a way.
Oh sure.
I mean, from Gargoyles.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like he has like everything falling in place, and if something goes wrong, he has some way to make it benefit.
It's more of kind of like an aesthetic of that character. I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. So the Jake, I was kind of speaking about this a little earlier on. I was basically echoing that. I feel the execution, basically the Obaki stuff, the execution of this episode, I think is fantastic. But my issue is in the premise. See, the premise is basically the whole super strength angle. Basically, where it comes from. That's where I have my issues with this episode. Because think about this. It's like this really bothersome semantical issue, but it's like it's kind of what the episode's founded upon, so it kind of bugs me, and it's like the only knock I can take against the episode, because Hero, basically planting doubt and everything that comes from that is fantastic, but the doubt itself is questionable because Hero feels that he needs super strength, and more accurately, he feels that he needs a superpower. And of course, the thing kept screaming out to me during the episode is like, wait a minute, none of them have superpowers. It's all technology. How is this? I mean, you understand my problem. It just feels like I know we need to get to like a super strength thing, but it kind of feels forced.
I mean, my thought of it was like they all had a thing, like they all were like able to defending themselves while he had to only rely on Baymax, and that's about it.
I mean, that's the thing. I love that we're addressing Hero's limits, and that was a very smart choice. I just wish that why they phrase it like superpowers. Again, I'm just saying it's very obviously none of them. It's like a little semantical thing, just kind of like bugs me with the premise. Where again, the premise, everything clicks so well, but like why, why superpowers? But again, we've been building this in the series so far that Hero, aside from like the cool magnet stuff and the fact that he invents things, and Baymax is his muscle, so he's very much tied into Baymax. But on his own, there is a weak point within the team. Again, beyond Hero realizing what he ultimately realizes that and he's the he's the guy who improvises in the field. He's the guy he's the plan guy. He brings a lot to the table, and again, he kind of can invent his way out of many a thing.
Yeah,
so,
well,
I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean,
Sure.
and it does kind of come as kind of weird, and that nobody even and with a show as heavy and lampshading it is as this is, I'm surprised that nobody ever pointed that out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think sometimes we run into an issue with this series where it's a question of how much should the characters know versus how much do they need to learn, and like are they learning the same lessons over and over again? And I don't feel it's in a negative space with that so far. I don't think we've done that too much, but I do feel they kind of skirt that line sometimes. We kind of bleed over into questioning that, like, aren't these things they should already know? I think we've had that maybe once or twice in the episodes so far, but I mean, again, they're walking a pretty good line with that. So it's just kind of something to be wary of, I think, going forward. I think it's the most they kind of dipped into that, but again, they still kind of saved themselves with the plotting. Aside from that, of course, what I think they did, and I like to think this is intentional. I like to think so. I think they took kind of an obvious realization and basically jazzed it up the best they could. And the best they could, of course, is the wonderful Stan Lee as Fred's father dropping by for an awesome cameo. They used him brilliantly to basically expound the moral. And in expounding the moral, I feel it's like, okay, we're taking this kind of this generic lesson, but, we're really we're hedging our bets. So, who can doubt kind of the obvious being pointed out by good old Stan Lee that's going to save us? And I think it did for the most part.
And it gets out of the way pretty early, and get the more out of the way pretty early, so it doesn't like harp on it too much.
Exactly. Here's, of course, the namesake of the episode, Kentucky Kaiju. Fun fact, of course, this is kind of a deep cut thing from the comics, where Fred, traditionally in the comics, I forget if his character is actually named Fred in the comics, but the Kaiju character on the Big Hero 6. He was giant. He was like a giant kaiju as a part of the team, and that's kind of what the homage here. With I don't know if it's the same design. It might be borrowed from it because I think traditionally Fred's costume is basically a giant version of it in the comic.
I'm honestly not sure. I mean, I'm not familiar with the comic books at all, other than like what I've seen in the documentary stuff.
Well, sure. It's just been a while since I've really had to kind of basically when Big Hero 6 came out, when the movie came out, that's when I was looking into kind of the semantical, what did they alter, what did they kind of were inspired from the book and such. And again, the gist of it was they shrunk down the kaiju thing, made it into like kind of a mascot suit, which was clever. And the point is, like, here it's kind of a fun little reference. Oh yeah, he was a huge kaiju in the books, huh?
And I do know that Baymax kind of looked like vaguely like a reptilian robot in a way too.
Yeah, they did a thing where he kind of had like two looks. One, I think, was kind of closer to the marshmallow thing we have now, and the other thing was kind of that more armored reptilian thing. Like, he was never in like the red armor, but that was just kind of like a fun way of kind of like again making it more technological versus more kind of super powered.
I mean, basically, as everybody knows, this is basically an in-name only adaptation of the characters.
Certainly, basically. Of course.
But if it is true that this is actually based on Fred's like comic book form, that would be a pretty neat homage.
Would be interesting.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, by the way, just for the backtrack, because I kind of glazed over in talking about the issue, is to highlight kind of the intrigue of the story. The hero when he had I love the pseudoscience behind Hero's suit. By the way, I love the nano compression, this circuitry. In this black and purple undersuit. Basically, it's like kind of the things in between, like the helmet and the gloves and everything of his armor. He has again this vaguely symbiote-esque kind of undersuit going on there, and that undersuit again has this like essentially Batman. If you've ever watched Batman Beyond, or if anyone's ever watched Batman Beyond, that's kind of what Hero's working with here, where that suit has like these very kind of these micro servos and hydraulic systems in there. Basically allow for kind of they allow for super strength. Basically, it's like Batman Beyond is a lot stronger than like Terry McGinnis hasn't trained his whole life to fight crime, so he has like some assistance built into the suit. It enhances his strength, and that's essentially what Hero's working with, but a more extreme version of that here. I think it's the technology of it's sweet, and I love that we hit upon this with Obaki, and that fascinated me here. And this is like the perfect note they hit in the episode. It makes me really puts a lot of faith in where they're going with this character for me. He's like, oh yeah, they're doing all that kind of the Moriarty-esque stuff with this guy, where he basically points out a big flaw in Hero. Like Hiro Hamada's kryptonite is the fact that he rushes things. He's very kind of in the moment. He's very instinctive, and there's a good quality of that, and there's a bad quality of that. And the bad quality of that is like Obaki saying, nano compression circuitry, very impressive. a shame he rushed it, and of course, a shame that he rushed it because that means like he hasn't figured it. That basically that's why Hero's stuck with the suit because did a rush job and he didn't figure on like how to deactivate the nano compression circuitry.
And somehow it ended up being deactivated anyway when the kaiju was about to crush him.
Well, basically, he blew out the circuit because he was lifting too much weight with the giant kaiju. Essentially, that's kind of what happened there. But yeah, I mean, he tried everything to even like the defibrillator paddles did not not short that thing. It's a strong puppy. It takes a lot to really kind of turn off that suit. What I really love with that angle, though, again, while we didn't, again, it's not necessarily superpowers, but I do like that we examine what people with super strength, like our Supermen or our Luke Cages, kind of go through on a daily basis, or more accurately for again the Disney of it all. Mr. Incredible. Like what a character like Mr. Incredible probably would have gone through in his formative years, where if you have super strength, you need to learn super control. Otherwise, you're going to break things. Like in the first Incredibles, where Bob's denting his car and everything when he has a temper tantrum. You got these issues where Hero's like, "Hey, pass me a seat, would you?" And of course, he flings it across the room. He's breaking everything at lunchtime. You got drawbacks with. Practicalities and impracticalities with super strength. It's not all gravy with super strength. Kids always ask for a smart power. Don't ask for like the obvious one.
At least he didn't get too much trouble with everything. He just basically all that happened is Carmi got mad at him, but that was about it.
Yeah, Carmi's always mad about something.
Well, of course he is. Well, of course she is. But like Granville scolded him, but didn't do much beyond that.
Because she saw it like it wasn't with mouths. I think it kind of bugged me again. It's not really any knock against the episode thing. It's like, why is everyone not on Hero's side? Like, oh yeah, I clearly threw it. We just like, come on, really?
I mean, like, yeah, well, it's a matter of perspective.
yeah, matter of perspective. Of course, we have the SkyMax gag, where SkyMax is in working order, which, by the way, SkyMax looks awesome still.
Neat continuity.
Yep, and of course, like he's accidentally poking holes in his phone and everything with that super strength.
Can you help me get dressed?
God.
I bet that was awkward.
I love this. I love that we do kind of flirt with kind of the Campbellian hero idea here. This idea of some of the great kind of smart ponderances about superheroes here. Where if I can say Age of Ultron for a moment here, Age of Ultron, kind of flirts with this idea of like, you create your dreads. Like a hero would create their worst nightmares. You're the author of your own dread, and that's kind of what we have here with our heroes. Here, think about it. One, we have this awesome team up going on. We have Obaki, we have Globby coming back, and we have Noodle Burger Boy. All of which are and just for argumentative sake, let's just say the giant kaiju suit that is then taken over. All of this are the byproducts of our heroes, technically, so far. Think about it. All the dreads and problems that our heroes encounter this episode. Hero, of course, he's the author of his own super strength. The doubt that was kind of laid in his mind. He's kind of, his problem is that suit that he can't get off, and like he's burdened by too much super strength, and he can kind of botch everything up. Again, he created that for himself. So again, he's the author of his own. He creates what he dreaded in that moment. Fred, he basically made the giant kaiju suit, and of course, he's very much kind of a proponent. They never said this. I would imagine he funded the acquisition of Noodle Burger Boy with his donation to the restaurant. That's my guess, but I can't. I have no foundation.
I just thought he was just like a really good customer, or something. I don't know.
I mean, no, I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, that's what we know. I'm just saying, like, maybe they took some of that money and they invested in like getting the Noodle Burger. But the point, regardless, even taking Noodle Burger Boy out of the equation, you still have the giant kaiju thing that he, again, author of his own thing there.
And for once, funnily enough, it's something that wasn't Cray's fault.
Yes, for a change. And also, Honey Lemon, of course, Honey Lemon is responsible for Globby. Again, her technology made Globby, which, again, I don't think they're forgetting that, because in the episode, Globby says, "Don't you remember, idiot, I'm made of this stuff," when she tries to throw a ball at him.
And also, she's the one who basically inspired him to continue being a supervillain.
I get it. Yes, fundamentally, that's the real important reason. But yes, and she's responsible in the literal and the figurative sense. So yeah, I love that we're bringing back these villains, and again, they are very much living with consequences. And again, if you want to look at this in the broader sense, Obaki, most likely, again, he's kind of targeting Hiro Hamada in this episode specifically, but in the grand scheme, he's targeting the Big Hero 6 as kind of a form of what we have with like a Batman and a Joker dynamic. The theme of escalation. If you have a team of kind of self-made, basically heroes made from technology, you're going to have villains made from technology, as well as a super smart villain on your team if you have a super smart hero on your team. Pun intended. Hero Hamada, hero in the points.
The question remains still: what is Obaki's ultimate goal?
Well, whatever it is, I would speculate it has to do with Granville because again, Granville has a kind of a history with Obaki. So it has something to do with the Nerd School. It has something to do with SFIT, and possibly Granville be the key to either stopping him or maybe the target of revenge. Who knows?
Oh, interesting.
Probably something a little bit more than revenge, because otherwise, why wouldn't he have gotten it at this point? But again, he's definitely using the Big Hero 6 for something here. Let's see. Oh, speaking of which, the pickle. Let's talk about the pickle.
The pickle.
More accurately, the giant, basically, Noodle Burger Boy. He hilariously pulls out this pickle from the top of his Noodle Burger Boy head. And this pickle basically is something that was programmed by Obaki, and this basically rewrites the kaiju and kind of turns it into kind of a menace to the city. And again, with this pickle, this is basically the linchpin and kind of oh my god, we now have like a link. Our heroes have a link to Obaki, and by the same token, it's very
and most likely that was in Obaki's plan all along.
Yes.
He's like, yes, Big Hero 6, come to me.
Well, again, we know this was his plan because again, he was leaving heroes some clues and seeing if he was smart enough to kind of put things together. And in the end, we see that. I love that in many ways, Obaki is getting more and more dangerous. Like, for example, think about this. In this episode alone, let's see, he disarmed the Big Hero 6, basically in fighting this giant kaiju that Fred was responsible for. He disarmed the Big Hero 6 because they all lost their weapons and they were all helpless. He manipulated Hiro Hamada with the whole he planted the seed of doubt and basically led Hiro to kind of create his own downfall with the circuitry and the super strength. And still, if you track it, Obaki still has not lost. Think about it. None of his plans have failed, even though he didn't win in the traditional sense. His plots are seemingly foiled, but in the real plot behind those plots have all succeeded so far. He infiltrated Craig's technology. He got New Burger Boy to compile the data. So far, Obaki's on a winning streak, but no one knows about it until again this moment. Now it's like, okay, this boy, how smart is this boy? Okay, how smart is he? Very. So Obaki again, Obaki's winning major points. Honestly, I think all the Obaki stuff in the plot, though, I think overwrote kind of the one super strength nitpick that I had about this whole thing. So again, on the whole, I'm really loving the episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right.
The season's probably almost halfway or over halfway over, so let's see where these seeds of doubt will lead us.
Certainly. Okay. I guess that'll about do it for us here, wouldn't you say?
Kinda, yeah. I would.
All right. I'm sorry?
I said, yeah, I guess so.
All right. Okay, I think that's going to about do it for us here. Again, thank you to the viewing audience there. Thanks to Demona B for tuning in. She finally got here at the right time. Congratulations. We're very excited to talk about Big Hero 6 next week, same time, same place, and such. And I guess so. All that said, again, the quote, one of the fun moments of the episode where Hero had a super strength and he did his classic blah 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 with Baymax. Let's collectively do that yet again.
Ba la la la.
Ba la la la.
Ba la.